Now, he said just 500 XRP could change my life. Seriously, 500 XRP, which is worth about $1,560 right now. Now, it was touted, I should say, as kind of my ticket to financial freedom. And it sounded like the setup of a scam email, right? And I thought so too. I actually double-checked to make sure that it wasn't coming from some kind of parody account or a random clickbait site. But when I saw who was making this bold claim, I had to stop and listen. So here's the scene. I'm scrolling through crypto Twitter, or X, whatever it's called these days, late last night, and I saw a post from this guy, right, that I recognize. That's Edoardo Farina. Now, Farina isn't your random moon boy. He's a well-known XRP perma bull, the founder of something called Alpha Lions Academy. Now, this man lives and breathes XRP. And I wouldn't have been surprised if he kind of checked XRP's price before his kind of morning coffee. Now, in the past, he used to preach that you needed at least 10,000 XRP to even think about an early retirement. 10,000. And trust me, I remember hearing that and thinking, yep, better start saving, or maybe even selling a kidney. Of course, I joke. But times change, price changes, and apparently so do Farina's benchmarks, because this time he's saying just 500 tokens could do the trick. So naturally my eyebrows went up and my skeptic radar pinged. So I decided then and there that I would, or at least I needed to, investigate further. And you know that kind of feeling when someone tells you something that sounds just too good to be true, and you just have to double check it. Well, like a friend said, hey, I found a diet that lets you eat pizza and still lose weight. You'd be all over it, at least all over Google, I should say, within seconds. That was me, but with XRP, right? I hopped into our community Discord. Shout out to everyone in our free educational Discord. The link, of course, is in the description if you want to join and discuss these crazy ideas with us. But people were already kind of buzzing about Farina's statement. Reactions kind of ranged from, this is insane, sign me up, all the way to, guys, come on, this is just pure hopium. One person even joked, maybe Farina meant 500 kilograms of XRP, which obviously gave me a good laugh. And it was a kind of full-on debate, and I was soaking in every argument. First, I had to get some context. What does 500 XRP really mean in the grand scheme of everything? Well, I already knew that it was about $1,500-ish, but I wanted the kind of comparison that made it real, right? Someone in Discord pointed out that according to Rethinking, a $1,560 is less than the average monthly rent in the US. Ouch. So basically, this life-changing bag of XRP is worth less than 1 month's rent in a modest apartment. Put it that way, and it kind of sounds even more ridiculous. I mean, how is less than rent money going to change my life? Am I supposed to couch surf for a month and invest the saved rent into XRP? Right, and of course the skepticism was kind of creeping in pretty hard. So at this point, I was fully in research mode, right? I was opening tabs, reading articles, and crunching numbers like a kid trying to finish homework just before the period, before the class, if you will. And pretty quickly, I stumbled on a crucial piece of the puzzle. Farina's confidence isn't just based on wishful thinking. It's actually based on where he believes XRP's price is heading. Spoiler, he thinks it's going way up. No surprise there, right? Most XRP fans will tell you that the sky's the limit, but Farina is putting actual numbers on it. Actually, 2 numbers. The first number is kind of conservative, at least by crypto standards. $27. Now, Farina himself didn't come up with this one, right? This actually comes from another analyst who goes by the name 𝗗𝗗𝘃. And if you haven't heard of 𝗗𝗗𝘃, he's one of those kind of chart wizards who kind of sees patterns and targets that us mere mortals might miss. Now, the Crypto Basic, they actually ran an article mentioning that 𝗗𝗗𝘃 has been saying $27 is the kind of cards for XRP, or this is in the cards for XRP. And apparently he's been saying it consistently, like a broken record, but in a good way. So I'm kind of thinking, all right, let's play this out. If XRP hits $27, my 500 tokens become $13,500. That's a pretty big jump from $1,560, no doubt. I could probably take a sweet vacation with that, maybe pay off a chunk of my car loan. But let's be real, $13,500 is not quite quit your job and live on an island money. It's more like upgrade your laptop and have a fun weekend in Vegas kind of money, right? In the grand scheme of life changing, it's not there. And funnily enough, even Farina would probably agree. And that is why his personal target for XRP is much higher. And I guess that brings me to Farina's second number then, the one that he's actually throwing out there, which is $100. Yep. $100 per XRP. So when I first saw that, I had to make sure that the decimal point wasn't in the wrong place or something. But no, he truly believes that XRP can reach triple digits. So let's keep in mind then, XRP's previous all-time high was around the kind of $3.40 back in, I guess 2017's bull run. $3.84, but it didn't change any hands there apparently. That was more of a glitch. So $100 would blow that out of the water by almost 30x, right? So let's be fair. In this kind of future scenario, XRP is already, crunching around the $3.20, $3.66, I believe, or $3.60 not that long ago in 2025. So $100, it isn't as bonkers as maybe it would have sounded in, let's say, 2022 when XRP was firmly under $1. But still, $100 is a massive leap, 3,324% up to be precise. So if you want to get all kind of nerdy about it, that is. Now, Farina is so confident about this target that he is actually on record saying nothing could actually make him sell his XRP below $100. So imagine that conviction. Right, the guy could watch XRP go from $3 to $50 and, which would actually turn 500 XRP into 25 grand, by the way. And still he'd be like, nope, not selling till we hit the big 100. And that's the diamond hands mentality right there. Naturally, I had to run the numbers on this $100 dream scenario. 500 XRP at $100 each. Grab a calculator, not that you really need it, but it does come out at $50,000. Now, we're talking some pretty serious cash, right? 50K might not let you retire forever, but it could definitely change a life situation. I mean, 50K could potentially be a down payment on a house, or it could cover a year, maybe even two, of living expenses, if you budget really hard. So for context here, right, the average annual household expenses in the US is around $77,000. So 50K isn't enough to sustain the average family for a whole year, but it's a pretty huge help. So to me, 50K is a bit like a safety net, an emergency fund on steroids, or the seed money to start a business, or, I don't know, finally get the Cybertruck and fill the kind of frunk with, tacos, because why not? Now, it's substantial, but it isn't quite quit your work forever and sip on cocktails on a beach kind of money. Not yet. I was both excited and a little kind of deflated about this because, or excited, I guess, because 50K is such a, from such a small investment is an amazing theory, right? Taking it from, $1,500 to 50K, that is. Deflated, of course, is because, well, it's not life-changing in the way that maybe I'd fantasize about it, like never having to work ever again, right? But here is where a little voice in my head kind of chimed in. Maybe you're thinking about life-changing too narrowly, right? Life-changing doesn't actually have to mean retiring at 30. It could mean that you're out of debt, or maybe having freedom to switch careers, or helping your family out, right? That made me kind of reconsider the $50,000 scenario then, right? For some people, that would actually be life-changing, or what would be life-changing? I mean, if you've kind of been living paycheck to paycheck, or you have a hefty kind of student loan, 50K could actually wipe the slate clean. Suddenly, 500 XRP, it didn't sound so insignificant within that context. But Farina didn't send me down this rabbit hole just to kind of conclude, oh, neat, 50K. Now, the way that he phrased it, 500 XRP has the power to change lives, implies something much bigger, right? It actually sounds like he is hinting at a truly jaw-dropping future value for XRP, the kind of moonshot that crypto diehards dream about. So I just had to keep on digging, and I hit the motherlode of all moonshot theories. The $1,000 XRP scenario. And yeah, you heard that right, $1,000 per XRP. Now, before your eyes roll out of your head, let me clarify something, right? I'm not the one predicting this, right? I'm just the messenger. And the messenger got this from another bold soul in the crypto sphere. That's Matthew Brennan, the COO of a company called CryptoGuard, predicting earlier this year that XRP could reach $1,000 in 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years. Now, I didn't know whether to laugh, shake the guy's hand, or just check if he's actually okay, because $1,000 per coin would mean my little stack of 500 tokens is worth, drumroll, $500,000, $500,000. Now we're kind of, I guess, indisputably in the life-changing territory. Now, for most people, $500,000 is quit your job money, at least for a while. Pay off the mortgage money, or even send your kids to college without loans kind of money. Now, it might not be the buy private island money, but depending on your lifestyle, it could very well mean financial freedom or something close to it. Okay, so I sat back in my chair at like 3 a.m. just imagining that for a second. 500K from a $1,560 investment. Now that's the kind of return that makes you question reality, right? It's kind of like winning a small lottery, except you didn't actually even spend the cost of a fancy espresso machine to actually play. Now I had this kind of mental image of future me calling my boss like, hey, remember when you said my crypto obsession was a waste of time? Well, I'm going to have to cancel that meeting forever. Would I actually do that? Probably not immediately, not that dramatic, but knowing that I could, that's a pretty powerful feeling, right? Now, let's address the elephant in the room. How realistic is $1,000 per XRP really? Because I hear the skeptics yelling in the back there. Do you even know what the market cap would be? And they've got a point, although a very small one here, right? Because market cap is only a representation of price. Price dictates the market cap, never the other way around, which means what really moves the price is what you should focus on, i.e. the supply, the demand metrics. But let's kind of humor the skeptics here. If all 100 billion XRP were somehow worth $1,000 each, well, they would be worth, that market cap would be worth $100 trillion worth of market cap. Even if we assume a lot of the XRP will be locked up or burned by then, and say half, only half out of that amount is actually circulating, that's still $50 trillion. So for perspective, from the skeptics kind of perspective anyway, the entire gold market is worth $12 trillion. And Apple, the biggest company on planet Earth, is worth around $3 trillion. So $50 trillion is a gigantic sum. And it implies that XRP becomes the backbone of global finance or something, equally world-changing. So getting to $100 was already a bit of a tall order. $1,000 might actually require every bank, corporation, and maybe a new few kind of governments, to adopt XRP. In other words, it's not exactly the most likely scenario unless the financial world really does flip on its head, which we can talk about real-world asset tokenization and how Larry Fink from BlackRock thinks that everything will be tokenized on the blockchain at some point. But all of this is a big if, or actually I should say, how about a big but, right? Because in crypto, the line between the absurd and the possible is thinner than we'd all actually like to admit, right? Remember when a meme coin like Dogecoin shot up and suddenly had a market value bigger than Delta Airlines, right? Something that was created as a complete joke, zero utility. And it was just people buying it, and the supply-demand metrics made its theoretical market cap value shoot up higher. So maybe that's not enough. What about when Bitcoin was dismissed as just nerd money and now countries are considering it legal tender? Crazier things within the crypto space have happened, right? That's my point. XRP has this unique position, and with its kind of focus on banking and cross-border payments, that is, and with an army of devoted supporters along the side of it, right? So if any crypto is going to surprise us in a really huge way, XRP is on the shortlist, right? So while $1,000 is very hard for me to kind of wrap my head around, it's also, I'm not here to be saying or going to say that it's utterly impossible, because it just frankly is not. In fact, it really isn't impossible. You just need the right mechanics to pull those levers. But just because it's possible doesn't mean it's likely, right? I would say it's not impossible, right? And I've learned my lesson about this using the word impossible in crypto time and time again. Now, at this point, I've walked through the kind of spectrum from $13,500 to $50,000 to the big 500K scenario. So you might be wondering, what's my personal takeaway? Am I about to empty my savings to buy 500 XRP because of this? Or do I think that Farina's been drinking too much of his own Kool-Aid? Honestly, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm hopeful but cautious. So let's call it optimistic realism. So here's the thing. I love the idea that a relatively small investment could profoundly, at least be profoundly impactful, right? It's the ultimate underdog story, right? Little 500 XRP grows to change a life. And Farina's confidence, whether you view it as kind of visionary or delusional, is kind of infectious. Now, I found myself kind of wanting him to be right. A lot of the XRP community is right there with him. And if you kind of lurk on XRP forums or even X threads, right, huge price targets are like the collective daydream, right? They recall those early days when holding a few thousand Bitcoin seemed crazy, and then a decade later, you're a multi-millionaire. There's this vibe that maybe, just maybe, XRP could be the next crypto for a story just like that, especially now that it's kind of out of the shadows of that big legal battle. It kind of fought and won, by the way, right? The public sentiment, at least among the XRP kind of faithful, it leans very much towards higher prices, as if it's just a matter of time. But I do also hear the more skeptical voices in my own head, and of course, in my YouTube comments, right? The ones saying, sure, it could happen, but I don't want to be betting my life on it, right? And you're absolutely right? Crypto can create wealth seemingly out of thin air, but it can also take it away just as fast. We've all seen epic crashes, right? And if I pinned all of my hopes on 500 XRP hitting $1,000 and it never happened, well, that would be on me, right? And that is why I'm treating it as a fun what if scenario, not a guaranteed outcome. So here's what I'm doing personally, right? I do have some XRP. It's more than 500 and it's less than 50,000, right? It's somewhere in that kind of mystery zone, and I'll leave it for you guys to figure out, right? A magician would never reveal his own hand after all. Now, I'm gonna hold it and see what happens, right? But I'm not gonna be betting the house on this, right? It's part of a diversified little crypto portfolio that I play around with. And if we get a massive bull run and XRP even kind of sniffs $100, amazing. I'll take some profit. Maybe finally even book that trip to 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀 and send Farina a postcard saying wish you were here. Now, if it goes to $27 and stalls, hey, still a solid 8 to 9x from here, right? Or at least from when this whole thing started, I should say. There's no complaints there. And if it somehow kind of goes to $1,000 in the next decade, well, you have permission to clip this video and roast me for even doubting. Right, while I'm chilling in some kind of semi-retirement, and semi-retirement because 500k doesn't let me completely check out of life, but you know, it sure gives a lot of options. Now, here's one more thing before I wrap up on this, right? And I've got to cover all of my bases here because I value not getting sued or even accidentally becoming a leader of a kind of financial cult. And it might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video today has been financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video, as I say, is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, with that important disclaimer out of the way, let's kind of talk quickly about where I even buy and track my XRP, since what kind of storyteller would I be if I didn't drop a few kind of practical nuggets, right? So I use Kraken Pro for a lot of my crypto trading, including XRP. Now, the interface is solid, the fees are low, and I trust them not to vanish on me in the middle of the night. And yes, I have a link that's in the description if you want to check it out. But full transparency, that is an affiliate link, which means that if you do sign up through that link and trade using Kraken Pro, well, it helps support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. So I was using Kraken Pro long before I even had an affiliate link, but hey, now it keeps the lights on too. Also, if you're into these kind of in-depth discussions and haven't joined our Discord yet, seriously, come on in. It's completely free, it's fun, and it's packed with people way smarter than me who share their insights. Honestly, where do you think I get half of my ideas? Hint, our community is an absolute goldmine. Now, as we kind of wind down this kind of wild thought experiment, I realized something. Whether or not 500 XRP ends up changing my life financially, it's already changed me a little bit, kind of, I guess, psychologically, right? It made me think or made me revisit why I fell in love with crypto in the first place, right? The excitement of what could be. And sometimes in the daily grind of charts and news and the constant tug of war between FUD and hype, we forget that exact feeling. Right? The what if that got us all here in the first place. And Farina's little comment kind of rekindled that spark in me. And that kind of childlike wonder about what the future holds. And for that, I'm honestly grateful. And so, will 500 XRP change my life? Well, the final verdict, it's possible, sure, but I'm not quitting my day job just yet. I'm going to keep holding, I'm going to keep on researching, and definitely keep you guys posted. After all, this space can change in the blink of an eye, right? You know, by the time that you're even watching this, XRP may have even moved another 20%, right? Crazier things have happened. And of course, if you've stuck with me this far, well, you're the real MVP, right? Because only really 31% of these videos get watched. The average watch time, 31%, which means most of the people watching these videos aren't even understanding what the videos are about. Whether you're a team 500 XRP to the moon or team Let's Get Real Man, I appreciate you hearing me out. Now, I'm keeping one foot on the ground and one eye on the moon because being ready for both the moon and the mud is my style in this crypto journey. Basically, I hope for the best, I prepare for the worst, and I try to enjoy the ride. It sounds cliche, but it's how you kind of survive and thrive in crypto. And honestly, these conversations, balancing hope and reality, are kind of what makes the crypto community special. It's a wild ride, but we're all learning and we're all dreaming together. So hit that subscribe button for more crypto adventures, and I'll catch you all in the next one.